This is Ashton Marcus, and I'm on location at Pacific Resident Theater for their presentations of Cigarettes and Chocolate and Hang Up. Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Matt Letscher.
Great. One thing I have to say is I'm a big fan of yours as your character of Eobard Thong on The Flash.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You can tell I'm a fan because I can pronounce the name.
Yes. No. Very well done. Very well done.
Okay, question. You know, of all the things you can be doing right now, because you have a lot of exposure, you're a hot name, why do you want to do this play? Why do you want to do this?
Well, why do I want to do this play? Well, I want to work with Pacific Resident Theater. I've been a member with this company for over 15 years now, and I feel like these plays by Anthony Minghella really speak to something that's very, very current, you know, in terms of the way we communicate with each other at this day and age, and the volume with which we communicate with each other, the sheer amount of language and hysteria that's thrown at just about any subject. This is a play that deals about, it's really talking about precision when you're with communication. It's talking about what are we really saying to each other, what do we really mean to each other. It's trying to pare down all of that nonsense, all of that distraction, and I feel like it's just very appropriate for now.
I love the piece. First of all, because I'm a radio guy, right? Mm-hmm. It was like a radio play. It was kind of like a stage reading, but it was actually everyone's voices. That's what it was.
Yeah. Well, it was written originally as a radio play by Anthony Minghella, and Michael Peretzian, our director, who staged this production, he was intent on maintaining that kind of integrity of the script, so that it wasn't diffused with too much blocking or a bunch of props or things like that. So we weren't trying to work through things so that people could really hear the language, because it really is a language play at the end of the day, and a play about language. So I feel like it really works this way. It's this kind of odd hybrid between reading and staging that seems to really elevate the text in a way that's great. So.
Actually, I was reminded of a British comedy too, because I've seen a lot of PBS. Mm-hmm. It had the theme of almost like one of the old British comedies.
Yeah, well, there's certainly, Minghella wrote for some television, I believe, and he wrote a lot of plays, and of course he went on to write some, The English Patient, some other great things, so it's only natural that, I would have that feel. For me, even though it was written in 1982, there's something so modern about it, and it's not just the fact that it's addressing a current malaise, that's only deepened as our society has progressed, but it's not dated. There's something about it that just feels sharp and feels observant about not just language, as I said, but also relationships and human beings in society and in like civilization, caring for each other. It's really well done.
Yeah, and actually I agree with you, because in theater, again, it's very edgy. So if my viewers do come by and see this, they're going to see a lot of things about, that are a little uncomfortable. Say abortion, say suicide, say infidelity, which is, again, those are theater topics. But again, so it doesn't really hold back. It's not really what should you say? It's not really a light comedy.
No, it's not. In fact, it finds humor in some of the darkest kinds of human tragedy and trafficking. It's kind of odd. The play, in some ways, is a series of confessionals, to horrible things, and there is undoubtedly humor to be found in these situations as well. It is quite a funny play. It really, it has a lot of funny moments in it, but overall, I think it should poke at something inside you that disturbs you a little bit, that makes you think about some things that maybe you'd rather not think about, and if you can have a laugh or two while you're thinking about them, then all the better.
Yeah. Okay, once again, I really love the performance. I loved it. I've always been a fan of your acting, just because I feel the villains in superhero shows are usually the stronger actors. You remind me a lot of Heath Ledger, that type of villain, which is very dark, you know what I mean? Not comical like Danny DeVito, very dark. So I just loved your acting. I loved you tonight in this piece. You're fantastic.
Well, thank you. That's high praise. High praise. I really appreciate it. And thanks for coming out today.
All right. Thank you once again for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI, 88.9 FM in Irvine. And I'm here with?
Jackson Duff Gwillem, and I'm playing Alistair in Cigarettes and Chocolate.
Okay.
I was born in New York City. I was trained out here. I've done pre-Broadway shows and television and commercials, and I actually come from an acting family. My father started in the business. His name was Jack Gwillem, and I'm sort of carrying on with the tradition, you know, in a smaller way.
Okay. So how much do you love Matt Letscher? Let's start with that.
Actually,
where do you know him from?
Actually, besides for Ebert thought,
from this show or from television work?
From television work, but actually, again, I really messed up the interview because I was so nervous.
Oh.
Because I always ask people basically, their character and what they take from, because everyone would do their character differently. Yeah. You can have one person play Romeo from Romeo and Juliet, another person play totally different, and they put so much backstory and command. That's what really fascinates me, and I should have asked him because he did a fantastic job.
Yes.
And again, I was just so thrown off. But I mean, I was very unprofessional,
No, that's lovely. That's lovely. I'm sure he was flattered.
Okay. And which character did you play?
I'm playing Alistair. I think he is a man that has a tough time with his emotions. He is in love, but I don't think he really knows what love is. And when he feels that he's made a blunder, it's sort of like he's got a foot in his mouth and doesn't know how to take it out. And it's always a very awkward situation. But I think he wears his heart on his sleeve. I think he's a good man. And I think he feels awful that he is in love with his friend's woman. And he feels so guilty, and he doesn't know how to rectify it.
I love the piece because, again, first of all, it dealt with really shocking issues, but they're all relatable, all very common. Yeah. It's like, who isn't attracted to someone's wife? Eventually, someone, right?
Yes, exactly.
And you didn't do anything.
Fantasies, right? I mean, and fantasies that are sometimes, and then it's put out in these monologues. And I don't know what your take is, but do you feel like Gemma is actually listening to these people, with this outpouring of emotion, or do you think it's in their heads? I mean, what did you take as an audience member?
Well, basically, for me, basically what I feel is Gemma is basically a reflection. It's just a sounding board, right?
Right.
Because I go through a lot of stage readings and all that. Right. And basically the audience almost decides whether the piece is going to be presented. It's almost as if she's deciding whether you're valid, whether your opinion matters. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, her silence actually makes her kind of like a judge and all that, which I think it works for the play. And all that.
It's very Harold Pinterish, if you know him as a playwright. I mean, there's a lot of stillness and there's a lot of dialogue that is not actually written sometimes, which the actors play with emotion. But we just love doing it. It's a beautifully written piece. It's very poetic, and he's written such rich characters that it's a joy. It's actually an honor to be in a piece like this.
Okay. Well, I love the piece. I thought it was fantastic, and I really loved your acting because you were almost kind of like the comedy in it, and all great British dramas have comedy, have quirky characters and all that. And I love those characters.
Yes, well, thank you very much. I'll take that as a compliment. And thank you. Come again.
Once again, really loved it. Thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI, 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Jeanette Driver. I'm living here in Los Angeles. I come from England, Manchester, and I lived in London for a long time, and I worked there for quite a lot. And then I came over here and joined this fabulous theatre company.
And which character did you play?
Tonight I played Lorna in Cigarettes and Chocolate, and I played She in Hang Up.
What's your take on Lorna?
Well, I think she's very vulnerable, but she puts on a veneer which is completely different. I think she has to be, completely fashionable, completely looking like she knows what she's doing and seeming like she knows what she's doing, but she's completely messed up because her mother killed herself, and she was a kid, and she's just a bit of a mess, really.
again, I've noticed that everyone's using an English accent, and you actually yourself are England.
Yes.
And I've actually asked the English actors before about, why do the English actors have such charm, such wit, such command of language, such stage presence and all that? And I noticed that was here, that they had the forceful language, the descriptive, the silky accent and all that. I just loved it. I mean, what's your take on all this?
Well, I don't know. That's very flattering to hear you say that. I mean, it's just the way we speak, But I think that we are English, and just everybody being English and taking on an English accent. Obviously, this is my own, but I think it sort of has a charm and a way of being that people did become slightly different to who they are. I think that's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's the language. It's the writer's language as well, because it takes over because it's such a beautiful writer.
Right. I also remember in my younger days when I was watching PBS, and I would see British comedies like Blackadder or like Monty Python. They all very descriptive in what they talk. They could be talking about taking the garbage out, but it would be very descriptive and very colorful. You'd smell the garbage, you'd feel the dirt, you'd be repulsed by it, and there's no garbage there. It's just the talk,
I don't know. I mean, we do. I don't know. I suppose we are very descriptive, and of course we're brought up with a lot of farcical comedy on television and in the theatres, with our pantomimes, and so there's a lot of very big, grand sorts of productions that we do. I suppose we're used to it. So if we have to dive into something and be completely animated and really descriptive about something, it is easy for us, I suppose.
Yeah, well, this piece was like that. Again, it had the description to it. It had the meter, because it's almost like listening to a song. And also, again, it was like it was also
that's
like
lovely. Yes.
Yeah, it was also like a radio show. So there was actually, again, you're gonna hear always music in the background, so always something for the ears.
Yes. Well, of course, it was a radio show, so it was done on the radio, and so that's why Michael decided he wanted to do it as if it was a radio, a reading, and not try to turn it into something else, which I think worked quite nicely. Yeah?
Oh, yes, I thought it was fun. And me being a radio guy, I know good radio, I know bad radio. This was actually very good radio.
Oh, that's good. So you didn't it wasn't dull because we weren't because we had the music stands and we were reading sometimes. It wasn't dull to you?
No, not to me. Because again, if you can close your eyes, if you basically, if you like my radio show, or if you like radio in general.
So you are the expert in the radio, of course. So you would appreciate it.
Yes, and I really loved it.
Okay, well, thank you for coming so much.
Okay, and thank you very much for being on the show.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Jason Downs. I just recently moved from New York. Well, it's been a few years now, but I say recently. I was lucky enough to stumble into this theater, Pacific resident, and audition for The Homecoming a couple of years ago, which turned out to be one of the best theater experiences I've ever had in my life. And it felt like, home, instantly home. So anyhow, that's how I found myself here.
And which character did you play?
Tonight, I played He in Hang Up, and then Sample in Cigarettes and Chocolate. On Sample, my take was that he's kind of a player. I mean, we decided that they were professionals. They're either in a law firm or something like that, and I might be a little more junior than Rob, Matt's character. But we're pals, and he's non-committal. That was the one major thing that comes out from the young lady that he won't live with and won't marry, but has impregnated. So I think that really, informed who he was to me. I mean, he's keeping his options open. He's non-committal. He's maybe somewhat of a player, or at least fancies himself a player. Yeah.
I love the piece. I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, because again, I'm a radio guy. This is basically almost like a radio piece where you actually see people. You also see the facial expressions. You see the movement and all that, and you do see some kind of costumes and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean there is a little bit of that. I think that makes it theatrical, but ultimately you're right. It's about the words. It's about. I mean, I actually felt like it was similar to Pinter, and I mean, maybe this is silly, but Shakespeare in a way, in that it really is all in the text. You know what I mean? So you don't need to see the costumes or the facial expressions, as you say, if you can lock into Anthony Minghella's meaning, then it's all there. It's all.
Yeah, I know a lot of you aren't English. Yeah? A lot of you are Americans, but you also have that command of language, which I really love in British comedies and all.
Me too. I agree with you 100%. I am a lover of language, and I think that goes for everyone else in this cast, as you pointed out. And I think, it really takes a lover of language to dive into a piece like this. And a piece like, something from Pinter, something from Shakespeare. I mean, you've got to love language. You've got to understand language, and in my opinion, have studied and dug into it. But I love that, yeah. And thank you so much for appreciating it as well.
If my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
I'd love for your viewers to come. Tell them to come, please. If they come, what should they expect? I think they should expect to be moved, hopefully, and provoked, hopefully, to think about themselves and to think about. I mean, what's interesting. This is interesting too. The dichotomy of the fact that it is so much about language. Okay, the dichotomy, especially in this piece, is that it's ultimately about silence. Or at least that's one of the points he's trying to make, major points, which I guess is ironic as well. And he even says that. He even says that in that last monologue about here we are, having sloshed all of these words all over you, but it's the silence.
Yeah, I agree, because basically I was actually told about this in some kind of philosophy class. If you're talking about good, and then you're talking about evil, you're actually talking about the same thing. You're actually talking about good and the absence of good. So in a sense, even if you're talking about evil, you're actually talking about good. So here when you're talking about silence, you're actually talking about talking, the absence of talking.
The absence of talking. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't say it any better than that. Can't say it any better than that, yeah.
Okay.
You hit it on the head there.
Okay. Once again, I love the piece. I loved your acting, so I thought you guys were fantastic. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm at KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Tanya Getty. I'm a longtime member of this theater company. I've sort of stumbled upon it when I first moved to Los Angeles, and I fell in love with it because they were doing amazing plays by sort of lesser-known plays by well-known playwrights, and that's what sort of hooked me about the place. And also in LA, there are a lot of actors who come in and out of shows, and they're here, to make money and do other work. But to find a theater company which also has professional actors who are as dedicated to theater was pretty special. So I've stuck with them a long time.
Okay, and which character did you play?
I played Gail. Gail is sort of lonely. She's insecure. She's trying to have a baby, probably herself. She's in a relationship that's sort of committed, but sort of not. And she sort of feels like she wants to aspire to be with this other group of friends that, they're lawyers and they're a little more upscale than she is. And just at a sort of a mini crisis point in her life right now.
I really enjoyed this piece. First of all, I've noticed that you guys aren't English. You all have English accents.
There's one English girl, but no, we're Americans.
Yeah, but I noticed this has almost the meter and the feel of a British comedy.
Yeah. No, I mean the what we all were so moved by with this piece is the writing. The writing stands alone. If you don't screw up the writing, then the play works. And the accent is important because they're very English. They're talking about English things. They're dealing with English phrases. So we had to work on the accents to get that there. But the writing itself just plays. Yeah.
Well, I really loved it because, again, I'm a fan of of old British comedies.
Yes.
And they all had kind of a meter to them. They all kind of had a command of language,
Yes.
a charm, a wit, and you guys all did it. And again, you acted because you guys aren't English.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, Michael, the director, he worked with us a lot on sort of finding what the piece really meant, and then we worked on getting the rhythm of the piece. And once we found it, it was written so well. You know, the pauses are in there, the stuttering. Sometimes you might have noticed, you know, we say, we change our thoughts in the middle just as people think, and that's on the page. So.
Okay. Once again, I really enjoyed the piece. I really enjoyed your acting and also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Katerina, Tana. I am from Los Angeles originally, but I grew up in London, and I trained there and did my theatre work there, and now I live in Venice Beach.
And which character did you play tonight?
I played Gemma's mum, and then I played Concepcion, the psychiatrist. My take on Gemma's mum is that she knows her daughter, and she probably knows her daughter better than anybody else, and she's very suspicious about why she's not calling her back. And she knows that, she's a pretty headstrong girl and going to do things, that nobody else is going to do, and she's going to do it the way she wants to. And then Concepcion, I think Concepcion is, probably doesn't understand everything everybody's talking to her about, but I think she listens with her heart, and that ability to be silent and just listen gives everybody permission to sort of unburden themselves in a way that is a very confessional thing, but very rarely people feel free to do that.
If my viewers decide to come and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
What should they expect to see? Actors really relishing language, really relishing beautifully told story in a very exquisitely written way that is, written 30 years ago, but it's so timely in terms of, the world that we're living in, and just how certain situations historically repeat themselves that you don't, even though it's set in the 80s, you would never necessarily know that, because it's about something sort of timeless. And yes, it's about relevance, and great writing never becomes irrelevant.
Right. I thought, again, the topic they talked about was, again, very shocking, because that's what theater's like. But actually, it was, again, like you said, very relevant, because sometimes they would talk about, say, suicide. Who hasn't thought about suicide? I mean, you're a normal person. You're not insane. Who has not thought about suicide in their life? I remember when I was a teenager going through adolescence, I did it, and I think I'm normal. But that's something you can identify, something really shocking.
And even if you're not necessarily considering it for yourself, it's an experience that people have grown up maybe having a parent that did it. So, the experience of suicide is not just the person who does it themselves, it's the people that they leave behind. And yes, I mean, we live in a very violent, shocking, scary world, and, where, priests do, immolate themselves and, set themselves on fire, is an act of, as a statement, and then you've got, the parents and that have committed suicide for Lorna and her husband, and that's sort of what they connect on, but they don't know it until they're already married, so it's sort of how certain things manifest themselves in different ways, like death and suicide for different reasons. Why do people choose to kill themselves? Is it a political statement? Is it a personal choice? Is it, something that you keep on doing several times until you finally succeed? It's, but I think that to be able to kind of couch such serious material with these beautifully sort of comic moments is just a sort of delicious combination.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because I actually thought it was kind of light too. I wouldn't take this as, say, where you get depressed, where it's traumatic. There were shocking moments in it, but I'd say being more of a light comedy than I would say a drama.
Yes, I mean, I think the best writing, serious writing, always has, a levity to it. It makes certain subjects that are so impossible to kind of, listen to and understand that much easier to empathize with, because it's really about connecting with something emotionally, and if you can laugh about something that is really horrific, it takes you a little bit closer to understanding it.
I also have to compliment the actors, you actors, because again, when you're talking about a conversation, there are two people in a conversation. It's interplay, and when you're talking about comedy, it's all timing. So, yeah, so all of it is. It's not like one person does a mutilation scene or something which did not happen here. It's not like one person does a dramatic scene by himself, a soliloquy. It was actually basically an ensemble piece.
Very much so, and Michael Peretzian, the director, was meticulous about. Really not letting those moments get lost. That those moments of interaction and connection between the characters really, was really sort of, the heart and soul of the material. That's the music.
Once again, I really love the piece, and I loved your acting in it. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashton Marcus. I'm with KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and I'm here with
Marwa Bernstein. I was a professional dancer for 18 years before I transitioned into acting, and I've been acting for a while. I was in New York for a long time. I've been a member of Pacific Resident Theater for about 4 years now. Done a lot of work in theater, TV, television, movies, all that. So, and I'm playing Gemma in Cigarettes and Chocolate. Gemma, I think, is she's hurting, and she has seen all of this going on in the world, and she's seen all this terrible stuff, and she's trying to process it, and she keeps trying to protest, and she keeps trying to have her voice heard, and nothing's changing, and nothing is being heard. And so I think she decides, after seeing the terrible monk, self-immolating, that maybe she'll try saying nothing for a little while and see if that's louder, and if it can cut through all of the chaos and the craziness that's going on. And I think that's why she's doing what she's doing, and I think that it's making her have this whole epiphany, and then it consequently makes everybody around her have these epiphanies of, that life can be different, I think. And I think she's trying to make a difference. Yeah.
one thing. First of all, I love the piece. I thought it was fantastic because, again, I'm a radio guy. I was actually told about people who actually really like black and white films. You ask them, why do you like a black and white film? It says, no, it's actually very surreal. It actually focuses on something. You're not deterred by the color. Radio is kind of the same way. It focuses on something. It focuses on the voice, the communication.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with that, and it's funny. My dad was very old-fashioned, and so he would bring these. He would find these cassettes of old radio shows, and when we would go on road trips when I was a kid, he would play them for us. So I've had a fascination with that, and we listened to all the old, like Inner Sanctum and The Lone Ranger, and some of all of these old funky shows that they bring this imagination out in you, and I think that that's the wonderful thing about radio, or listening to audiobooks or any of that. Your imagination is working as opposed to it being fed to you, and I think it can be a very powerful tool still in our modern world of sound bites and craziness, but it can focus you in. I mean, that's why I get my news from NPR versus I don't want to read it, I don't want to watch it, I want to listen to it, so yeah.
Great. So if my viewers decide to come by and see this piece, what should they expect to see?
What should they expect to see? They should expect to see a very thoughtful piece that is relevant today, even though it was written, years ago. But I think that it works so well in our political climate. It makes you feel, it makes you think, and it's beautiful relationships that you see manifest themselves on the stage.
I really love the piece. I loved your acting in it also. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Cigarettes and Chocolate and Hang Up will be playing at Pacific Resident Theater from July 15th to September 10th. For more information, go to www.pacificresidenttheater.com.